Welcome to the When Dreams and Action Collide podcast. I'm your host, Joy Lanae, your Productivity Powerhouse. And this month, I've been doing a series that I've called Get It Together at Home. So I hope you've been enjoying it. The first week, we talked about clearing the clutter in your home, whether it was just a space, a room, or your entire house. Whatever it is, it was just a very brief overview of how to get started in decluttering, or if you have decluttered, but things have come back into your house, how to kind of just get that the ball rolling again. And then the second week, I talked about meal prepping and food prepping and the difference of those and how to use both of them in that meal sort of area of your life. So I hope you enjoyed that. And then last week, I talked about how to transform your schedule. And this was very along the lines of like your calendar and events and your, the schedule for the month and weeks and kind of like those things that are rotating all the time. So today, what I wanted to talk about was how to reboot your routines. Now, I know a while back in episode 3, I did a chat about establishing rhythms and routines for your life, the differences between both of those and how you use them in your life. So I would highly, encourage you to go back and listen to that episode. I've actually had a lot of good comments on that episode for people just letting me know. They're like, oh, that's really good. I need to do that. So just a little bit of review on what that is. A rhythm refers to more of a natural flow of doing something. The timing of it is very flexible, whereas a routine is something that is done really kind of like at a specific time and it's a bit more structured. So that's what we're going to be talking about today is more of your routine, like your morning routine, your evening routine. These are things that are really going to just set you up for the night, the evening, whatever you're doing. So again, I would encourage you to go back and listen to that episode so you can determine what do you want to make a routine? What do you want to make a rhythm? How do they flow together? Trial it, adjust it, whatever you need to do. So we're going to be talking about routines, and those are, again, more structured, more, set in stone things. And I specifically actually want to talk about like your morning routine, your evening routine, family routine, those types of things. Because with all these areas that we're talking about in this series, decluttering, food prepping, revamping your schedule, these things are just things where you can start small and grow into them. And it's the same with your routine. You can, every one of these areas, they do not have to be a massive change, but the little changes that you start to make can actually do a domino effect. So that's how I want you to think about it in this episode as well. You'll always be tweaking and fine-tuning things. No matter what it is, meal prepping, decluttering, your schedule, you're always going to be fine-tuning, tweaking, changing your mind. Schedules change. That's just how it's going to be. And maybe for this season, your routine and your rhythms need to change a little bit, especially because, this is the end of the year. Going into the last few months of the year, we've got holidays, kids in sports. Here in Australia, we'll be heading into our last term for the school year. There's end of school concerts, end of school things, like it's just all packed into one. Plus it's the beginning of a summer. So it's just a crazy time of year. So having locked in routines for this time can just help you to better flow through the season without getting really stressed. I'm not saying that things are not going to be stressed or you're going to have stressful moments. Like I said last week in your scheduling thing, it doesn't mean that everything's going to go perfect. But if you can have these things set up, it does make it a little bit easier and a little bit when you kind of get out of that flow to get back into it easier. So I first want to talk to you about a morning routine. Now, I think it is very, very important for everyone to have some kind of morning routine. For yourself, for your family, especially if you have younger kids, I think it is very important for you to have a morning routine for yourself and for your family. You need one, your family needs one. Because a solid morning routine can actually set the tone for the day. If you're starting off chaotic, most likely your day will be chaotic, or the majority of your day, and maybe like the last couple hours of your work time might not be as chaotic, but then you're going into your evening routine. And if that's not set right either, then that can be chaotic. And then you're just like, I have this chaotic day. So a solid morning routine, a solid night routine, which I'll talk about a little bit later, can set the tone, set it up. So even if your routine for yourself is getting up 10 to 15 minutes before your kids to get ready, this can make all the difference in the way your mornings flow. But we're going to talk about trying to do a little bit more than that. I get it. If you're in the season where you have babies, you're up in the middle of the night, then you know what? You are exempt. But I would suggest even in that time that you do get up, 5 to 10, maybe 15 minutes before your kids wake up so that you can just get on your feet. Like, try not to be where it's like your kids are waking you up. If you can literally just get up about 5 to 10 minutes, splash some water in your face or take a quick shower or something where you feel like yourself and you're like, okay, I can do this, then I highly suggest doing that. But I do want to suggest going a little bit further and just rather than just getting up and getting ready, go a little bit more into your routine. Add more into your routine. This may require you to be getting up a bit earlier. And I know for those morning people, you're not happy with me right now. But when you get in the flow of getting up earlier, even if it's just 20, 30 minutes earlier, when you start doing things that refuel you, you will actually begin to enjoy it and really begin to love it. So I want to suggest that with your morning routine, you pick 1 to 3 things you can do for the morning at a specific time that, you can feel set up for the day. This could be working out, it could be praying, it could be doing affirmations, it could be reading, it could be journaling, any of these things. 1 to 3 things I would suggest starting out with. Now, a good book that I would recommend that can help you with some ideas is The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. That's his name. And also, so that's a really good book to start. I think he has six things that he does. And it's an hour, but then he has a condensed version of it. So there's so many ideas that you can get. I believe there's a book called The 5 a.m. Club. I have not read that yet, but I've heard good things about it. Honestly, you can go to Pinterest and find morning routine ideas, watch someone's reel to get an idea, and just pick 1 to 3 things that you know that you would enjoy doing. So many things. So you need to choose what is best for you. If you enjoy working out in the morning, then do it. But I will say this caveat. If you don't enjoy working out in the morning, but you know that if you don't do it in the morning, you are not going to do it at all, then you're going to need to do it. Okay? You're going to need to work out. So if it's like, if I don't do it in the morning, then I'm not even going to get to it. So that's what you need to decide on what you do. Things that you enjoy doing, but also things like, if I don't do it in the morning when I have the time, the free time, then I'm not going to, So you have to find that balance and push for the capacity for this one, okay? So you're going to have to sacrifice, sleep. But again, when we go into evening routine, it's going to help you so you can have more sleep, so you can wake up renewed, all that stuff. So I highly recommend the book, The Miracle Morning, and then I believe the 5 a.m. Club. Now, I am not part of the 5 a.m. Club, okay? I think I did that once in my life. I was the 5:30 a.m. Club, not the 5 a.m. Club. And yeah, that was just for a season, but yeah, I'm not part of that right now. Maybe one day I will. I know that people who do that, and I think that's great. Some are part of the 4 a.m. Club. I'm not, okay? I have a routine that works for me right now. So those are just a few things that, working out, praying, journaling, reading. What are things that are going to fuel you up? Or you go say, if I had the time to do these things, they would just really set the tone of the day. So if your morning routine, if you have 3 things that you do, and then the rest of your day just goes chaotic, at least you're like, that time was amazing. But let me just assure you that if you're able to start this morning routine, your days will be smoother. It doesn't mean that there's not going to be like a fire that happens at work, or you know what I mean? Like something chaotic happens. It's just you're able to move through it a bit easier. So a few things to do in the morning. And like Nike says, just do it. No excuses. Just set yourself a morning routine. All right. So this is going to be a little bit more structured. You might have to, you have to set your alarm for this one if you're not a person that wakes up at that time, and get yourself out of bed and do it. Mel Robbins says, do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and just get out of bed. Like, what is it that you're going to do to just get yourself started? And believe me, it's only the first couple of days that it's like, I've got to really keep doing this. And then it becomes easier. You're actually, you might wake up even before your alarm as you begin to do this. And again, this is something where maybe one day or 2 days you just have a different bit of a schedule and you can't do it that morning, but then you set right back into it and you do it, and then you do it again. So you might have a day where it's just like, ooh, I had that later this week. I did it. I was working an event that I wasn't supposed to. Got home late, so I slept in, and I didn't do my morning routine. But that was okay. Next day, just went about doing it. So it's just things like that happens. You want to have some set structure, and I highly, highly recommend it for a morning routine. Okay, now we're going to go to your evening routine. Now, a good evening routine can set you up for a better morning. All right, so your good morning starts the evening before. Okay, your evening routine should be quite locked in, and this is one where I do say routine because I think some things will be very structured, but this could also flow as well and be very rhythmic as long as you get it done. Okay, so are there things that I can do in the evening that make it easier for the morning? Okay, so most people already do this. You make the school lunches, you set out the clothes for the day before, for the next day. But what I want you to do is actually kind of, go beyond the basics. Okay, prepping meals for the next day. Okay, I'm going to do that the day before or the night before, setting my clothes out. But I feel like we can move beyond that. That's like sort of basic stuff. If you don't do that, then I highly suggest you start doing that. But those are basic things. So I want you to consider going a little bit further than that and creating more of a routine. So consider things like setting aside time, family conversations, planning the next day, wind down activities like playing games with your kids, reading, time with your spouse. I want you to think a bit broader when it comes to your evening routine. So think of it again in two ways. What could I do this evening that could help my mornings feel less chaotic? Okay, so what are those just things like school lunches, throwing a load of laundry on, making sure that the kids load the dishwasher. This is where you can get your family involved. Okay, you do not have to do it all, especially if your kids are getting older. I'm saying like about 5 and onwards, your kids should have a few chores under the belt, or at least learning. Okay. And this is where this is a routine. Hey, after dinner, we're going to all clean up the kitchen together. And I'm loving it now because my kids are at that age where I do not have to do it all, and it's great. So getting that involved, and that's a routine. Now, it has taken some time to get them used to the routine. So yes, you're going to have, if you haven't done that, you're going to have a little bit of that friction. But then as soon as it's done, like give it a week or so, and then it starts to fall in the routine area. So think of those things. What are those things that I can do to prepare me so the morning is less chaotic? And then the second part of the routine is, what can I do that is going to help me relax for the evening and be able to have time with my family, my spouse, those types of things. What is going to help me to relax and wind down? So you got to think of your circadian rhythm. And if you haven't heard of this, Google it. There's tons of podcasts about it. But we're designed to wind down at night. So unless you are doing shift work where you are going to work at like 10 or 11 p.m., you should be winding down. And you need a bit of a routine to do that because we are so programmed not to do that. With TV and especially now for smartphones and all this stuff, like our body is not used to winding down like it did before. This is how they did it back in the day. As soon as the lights, the sun went down, it was just like your body just started to relax. You are meant to do this. But with everything with all the technology and just things that are happening, our bodies are not wired for this. So you need to learn and pretty much relearn how to do that. So create a routine that gradually helps your body shift into relaxation, into rest. This could be no screens. This could be, low light, don't have the bright lights on. Maybe just have like the lamp over here. Reading. What are things that are going to wind you down? Quality time with your family. Those little things. That's what you want to do. So for instance, I'll give you an example. So let's just say one of your routines is your after dinner routine, where again, everybody cleans up the kitchen, the kids had their bath, you set things ready for the morning, spend some time together. That's your after dinner routine. and kind of like mixed in with your kids' bedtime. That's your routine. And it's kind of like it just happens. It happens because you set it that way. And even when you're doing, your kids have like sports and maybe your night goes a little bit longer, when you get home, that routine kind of starts. It just might be a little bit quicker, or it's a little bit of a smaller type of that routine. It's still a routine that you're doing, and you want to get into the habit of doing it. So that is the routine that you want to do, is where you're kind of getting prepared for the next day. That's the type of routine. And then the other one is specifically for yourself, and maybe you and your spouse. So once all the kids are in bed, everything's set out, then you want to have a routine where you're, winding down. So again, this prepares your body for sleep, rest, so you can wake up well rested the next day. So a part of this routine might be like taking a bath, reading, journaling, again, spending time with your spouse, putting your phone away, putting it on charge and not touching it again for the rest of the night. Again, you can find things on Pinterest to give you ideas on what to do for your evening routine. But honestly, and I'll be really honest, you would know yourself what you need to do. So if you've been binge watching Netflix, believe me, I sometimes get in those. And you're like this, it's making me stay up, an hour or two past what I really need to do, then maybe just don't turn it on. And that the evening routine of stopping that and maybe like, I'm just going to read a little bit, or I'm going to do this. Or hey, your phone. I scroll for an hour, you're just like, I don't know how the time got away from me. And then I say, I don't have time to read. Well, that's where you need to shift the things in your routine. I'll give you an idea. So even when my husband and I, we might, put the kids to bed, and it might be like Friday night or Saturday night, and we'll be like, oh, we kind of want to watch a movie. One thing I do, I will go and I will get my red lens glasses and I will put that on. So it blocks the blue light, red lens, because after the movie, I'm going to go to bed. But it helps making going to bed easier and able to switch off when I have the red lens glasses. So automatically, if I know that that's what we're going to do, my red lens glasses go up. And it's just what you do. So it's a routine. It's already something that's set in motion with what I'm going to do. So yeah, I just think that normally people know what they need to do. And unfortunately, having a smartphone and all this stuff has just taken people out of that sort of rhythm and routine. And we need to get back to it, because what it is disrupting our sleep, which makes, the next day even harder. And then as that accumulates, if you keep doing that, it just makes things, you're just not rested. So having a really good morning routine and a really good evening routine is going to help you. So I highly suggest you begin to look at that in your life and what you're doing. What can you eliminate? Again, let's go back to the decluttering things, and even the scheduling. What do you want to keep that you need to do? What do you need to hand off and put into someone else's plate? Or what do you just need to stop doing? Okay. And most of us are all grown-ups. We're all grown-ups. You have the responsibility of turning your phone off, turning the TV off, doing what's best for you. We're seeing so many people, and I'll get on my little high horse right now, my little podium, and say, so many people are finding themselves sick in the hospital, all this thing, like their just bodies are out of order. And it's because we're stressed out, mentally stressed out, but there's things that we can do to begin to ease that. And, I believe that does start with, you can start with, having a really good morning routine, really good evening routine. So in the evening, something that is just part of my routine is I take my supplements before bed. And some parts of the supplement is magnesium, which helps you sleep and helps you rest. That it's just become part of the routine of what I do. What's something else I do? Like reading. Even if I watch TV, usually I'll just read like just a little bit, because somehow that just relaxes me a bit more. So depending if I have 5 minutes or 20 minutes, I'll read as well. What are some other things that I do? Low light, especially when the clocks have changed and it gets lighter or darker earlier, just changing up those lights. So morning routine, evening routine. Believe me, go on Pinterest, you can get so many ideas, but just start simple, start with 1 or 2 things. Now, just quickly, I do want to touch on family routines. This is definitely the time of year where family rhythms and routines are much needed, really enjoyed, but probably missed if you don't intentionally set out to do them. So with holidays, sports, end of school, that sort of thing, with the months getting busier ahead, what you want to ask yourself are, what are those things that I definitely want to do with our family, for our family? Are there any traditions you want to do or start, but that won't create a lot of stress? Like, what do you really want to do? What can you think about last year and be like, okay, I know I definitely don't want things to be like last year and I don't want to do this, but I really want to do this. So think about that in your mind. Knowing this will help you say no to the things that don't really align to what you want to do. So again, similar to decluttering and scheduling, what do you want to keep? What needs to be delegated to others? Even the routines and rhythms. Again, if you have kids, start delegating. Other family members, start delegating those things out. Or what do you need to get rid of altogether? So that's your family routines. As we're coming into the holidays, what are some traditions you want to really start or really continue or really do? And what don't you want to do? This is the time to start to just, even if it's not happening till Christmas, but you're like, I'm just setting my intention of, no, I'm not going to do that. Or we're not going to do that. We're going to set ourselves up correctly. So that was just a real quickie when it comes to families routines, which I highly, highly encourage people to focus on this time. You know, over the last 20 years, the family unit and that time has really been disrupted, especially with smartphones, screen time, so much extracurricular activities. Do not get me started. Parents and families are just saying they don't have time. Well, what you do is you need to make time, and you need to do that by actually getting rid of other things and making room for what matters. So if you didn't listen to my episode on transforming your schedule, which was last week, go back and listen to that one, because that will be a really good one to really make sure that you're aligning your family values, what you want to be doing, and aligning your schedule with that. So really, this is why I've done these 2 episodes on your schedule, your time, your routine, is because we really need to prioritize these areas in our life. We're allowing technology, we're allowing everybody else to determine our schedule when we really need to do it ourselves. So to recap, start small with your routines, focus on the key areas: morning, routine, night routine, families. Just focus on 1 or 2 elements of that. And then once you have that going, add in something else, a part of that element. Okay. So just start with one thing that you're going to do in your morning routine, one thing that you're going to do in your evening routine. When you've mastered that, add some more. Trial the routines, trial the rhythms. What's working, what's not working. It's okay to change your mind on how you do something. Okay, I cannot stress this enough. If it's not working, change your mind. It's okay. Just because you said you were doing it, even if you wrote it down in your journal, you are allowed to change your mind. Readjust where necessary. Because remember, rhythms and routines are tools to make life smoother, not rigid structures that should stress you out. Okay? Again, I'll say that again. Remember, rhythms and routines are tools to make life simpler and smoother, not rigid structures that will stress you out. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. And of course, I hope you enjoyed this entire series on Get It Together at Home. I would actually love to hear your feedback. So please DM me on Instagram. It's hello.joylanae, or send me an email. You can just visit my website. It's joylanae.com. That's JOYLANAE.com. And I will chat to you next time on another episode of When Dreams and Action Collide.